When you call on me, I will answer you. When you say,
I was like, who is this person?
I will hear.
It was something different from what I usually hear.
Do not fear.
It had massive appeal. He even had people in his DMs like Hezekiah Walker talking about his music and talking about how powerful his songs were.
Do not fear.
I keep going back to listen to his songs. I remember there was one time I was driving around town with my brother, and after a while he's like, "Are you really like Kofi Asiedu?"
No, do not fear. For I will. When trials and tribulations weigh you down, and you want to throw in the towel, remember God is love.
Kofi was excellent in everything that he did, especially music. He showed excellence. His style of writing was way different.
But it was in Sunday school that they were doing a Sunday school children's album. And he came home one day and said he was so excited. He said, "Mommy, they discovered today that I could sing."
So this was one of the Sunday school songs based on John 5:24, and he wasn't the one meant to sing it at first, but when we heard his voice, we knew it was the voice for this. And so although it was 2 years behind, we had to get him to do it. And it was an incredible, in fact, this was the first song that got people to hear about him. And a lot of people wondered, who is this Kofi guy?
You could tell that he had worked on the songs and he sang passionately.
So for a 10-year-old to have what we call melisma, not just vibrato, which is associated a lot with contemporary and R&B in particular, was very remarkable. And we didn't know that his interest was going to be in R&B music, but that actually did happen.
There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not. Thy compassions, they fail not. As thou hast been, thou forever will be.
When Kofi joined the choir initially, he had struggles with singing hymns, especially in his part tenor. But he persisted and he got better at singing the hymns. Also, we had some songs that the choir would do, or we had some songs that sort of had that feel that was more natural to Kofi. An example is One Touch by Fred Hammond. And I mean, when we decided to do the song, we all knew that this song was for Kofi because it just had, I mean, if you know Fred Hammond, it just had Kofi's vibes or Kofi's energy.
Cause it's giving you the spirit, giving you the rhythm to this life, following his word. Hope you don't lose your chance.
I think R&B was the definite thing that really put us together. I thought it was food. I thought it was, you know, all the cakes and everything, but it was definitely R&B, because when we started talking about it, we could go hours and hours and hours just talking about that genre of music and how we wanted to make it a thing in Ghana.
That my circumstance was ever gonna change. What do I do? What do I say? Do I hold on?
When I was doing my PhD in Birmingham and they were with me, that the teacher mentioned that they would go on nature walks, and when they come back, he would use plasticine to mold things that he saw. Especially at Christmas, I'd bake and gift friends and family. So I think that's where he picked it from. He says that's where he picked it from. So he would always come and ask me, how do you do this? They started making cookies for sale and his friends would buy it. So that's when it really started. Then he started making cakes. He was using my kitchen, and sometimes I have things in the fridge, you move them out and put his cakes there.
He's just always been very good with his hands. He used to sew. I cannot sew to save my life. I always say I'm not good with my hands when it comes to things like sewing, painting, drawing, but Kofi was excellent at those. And so, I mean, it wasn't a surprise for me that he grew up into the kind of creative he was.
Truth is I'm struggling to get it all together. I've got my questions.
Kofi really wanted to go to France, but at the end he had somehow struggled to convince his parents about going to France, because they had told him that I went to Benin and I speak French. What's the difference? Why can't he go to Benin? And for me, being in Benin, because I'm not West African, it gave me another side to the West African culture. But for him, who is already West African, I felt I tried to convince, and I guess it worked, Auntie Awo, that he needed an outside perspective, and the fact that he's the only son you have left. I mean, he's the last boy. You're not going to pay any school fees after this. So apart from being academically there, Kofi tried to pursue his interests and find other interests in hobbies in France. And I think one of them was pastry making, baking, and also music, because he's musically inclined.
So when he came back from France, really, that's when his baking took off. And then he started making puff pastries and croissants and other things. And I think that his art found its way into his baking, because he started creating these amazing artistic pieces.
I had tried his cakes for a while, and when it was time for me to get married, I had also ordered some for my wife to be then. So it wasn't up for discussion. She had already vetoed Kofi was making our wedding cake. And he was happy to do it because we were not just churchmates, but we were friends. So I think he just added a special touch of love to making our cake. And when we saw it, it was even better than the design we had sent him. And the taste, of course, was unmatched.
Every month he would, bring these cakes for us to sing together, and then after cut it, and then after we'll pray for whoever was, celebrating their birthday that day. It was quite thoughtful.
Chaque fois que je te vois triste, je me sens triste.
Kofi wanted his cakes to be in every restaurant, every shopping mall across the world, not just in Ghana. He even started with one shop. He used to supply them. And he also visioned himself having a shop where people could walk in. He wanted to have this book station where people could sit and read books whilst they sip and eat his cakes and pastries.
He would work through the night sometimes in his kitchen, sleep and then gets up the next morning and he's heading to the studio. He was extremely passionate and did the things he loved.
Accounting was something we struggled a bit with, but even with that, Daddy had to take charge and he took over our accounting for some time.
If I could speak with glass or angelic ecstasy, but don't have love, I'm nothing.
Faith was the springboard of our relationship, outside the filial connections that we have. That was the one thing that we spoke most about, and it infiltrated every area. I mean, even when we were joking or things, we would make jokes, and there was something of faith infused into it.
He's a very interesting child of God, and I haven't really encountered anyone like that before. And he said it with so much conviction, so much faith. And there was this certainty that he knew what his calling was. He knew what he had been called to do and what his assignment was.
Throughout my life, I have experienced being present in my life. But then I'm also a very simple person. But then I'm also a child of God. So I tried to put the two names, Kofi and Noel, together. So Emmanuel means God with us, right?
Yeah.
So Kofi Nuel. Kofi, the one who God is with.
Joyful, joyful Lord, we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of love.
Kofi was one of the people that would call and encourage me, would pray with me. He played a major role when it came to like faith in my life.
Kofi saw his participation in the choir as a very significant medium with which he would express his faith. Because most of the songs that we sang, or all the songs we sing in church, are faith-based, theologically sound songs. And I believe Kofi bought into that idea and was very ready whenever he was called upon.
When I joined the youth choir, I was extremely intimidated because everybody could sing very well. And I mean, I always knew Kofi knew how to sing. He was a sharp learner. He just doesn't sing, he's a musician. So mostly he would help the tenors to learn their parts during rehearsals.
Come to Jesus, just as you are.
He had a faith of his own. Clearly, he could articulate who he had believed, what he had believed, and serving in the house of God.
For every broken heart, He is waiting with open arms.
It was a Sunday morning, the 6th of October. But I was in the bathroom when my wife came and said, Kofi needs help. He wants to use the washroom, but he's finding it difficult to get up, so please come. So I quickly came out of the bathroom and held him with the help of my wife. So we just took a few steps, got to the front of the washroom, and suddenly he just went onto the floor. I said no, so we just grabbed our car and got the neighbors to help us.
I was going to church when his daddy called me.
and told me Kofi was not well. So he was being rushed to the hospital, so I should pray for him.
And then I got a call from Uncle Ben, a very frantic call, asking me to pray. What was the matter? Kofi was, he said it was Kofi, and that had Awo called me. I said, no, I hadn't heard from her. And he sounded desperate on the phone. So as soon as I put the phone down, I called my husband.
I was on the motorway coming back to the house when she called me that Kofi had been rushed to the hospital, and so we should just pray. And then she went off the phone because Uncle Ben called her at some point. She would call me back.
We got here as fast as we could, and I remember going into the hospital. It was difficult. I saw some friends of the family at the entrance of the hospital, and I knew truly something was wrong.
I was just wondering, how is she going to take this? How is Awo going to take this? And I myself was shaking.
And then in 15 minutes or so, he calls me again and says, Kofi has passed.
So I went outside and held her and told her, Mana, we have lost Kofi. She just fell out of the chair and started wailing, and I needed to get people to help. By that time, a few church members were on their way, and then when the friends came, they helped her. And then she said, no, it's not true. So she came in, held him, and started shouting, Kofi, Kofi, come back, Kofi, come back. We were praying, Kofi, come back, Kofi, come back.
A call started coming through, and I realized it was Awo. I tell you, my stomach just went down. Awo was just screaming. Patrick, your son is gone. Patrick, your singing partner is gone. Patrick, I've never seen her like that. She was just hysterical.
I will answer you when you say my name. I will hear. Do not fear. Do not fear. No, do not fear. Trials and tribulations.
I remember sitting on my bed and reading the WhatsApp message on the group page and just being in utter shock. I was just sitting there for a while, not doing anything, not moving, trying to process if it was the same person that I knew. I was just in shock.
Everybody in the church was reeling, was in a state of first disbelief.
My friend comes up to me crying. Like, what's happening? And before he told me, he said I should calm down. I said, just tell me what's happening. It's like Kofi is gone. Kofi Nuel is gone. Like, gone where? Kofi Nuel is dead. I was just scrolling through my phone and like on the WhatsApp status, just saw people writing how, what happened? And I got scared. And I saw Kofi, why? I was like, which Kofi? Then I saw his picture. Then I was like, what's happening? People started calling me, saying like, oh, did you hear that Kofi passed? I was like, how did he pass? Because the night before, we had written a song together.
It was unbelievable. I had just spoken to him a few days ago, and I was teasing him that he hadn't delivered my croissants because he promised to make me croissants. And he said he was in bed, and once he's up again, he will bring the croissants. I haven't eaten croissants since.
On the first day that we heard the news, we prayed for hours. We prayed the next day for hours. We prayed the third day for hours. And through that period, I wasn't experiencing grief because I didn't accept the news. I was believing. I had faith.
And so there was that tension that we had to wrestle with is, you're praying for him to get up, but you're not seeing the manifestation of the miracle yet. So I remember being on calls with Sawyer on a daily basis, just kind of processing all of that.
They couldn't understand, how can God give a prophecy that this man is going to be a preacher and all that, and at the same time he passing away? Does it mean that the prophecy was not from God? Does it mean that we didn't understand the prophecy? Does it mean that those who gave the prophecy did not fully understand what they were saying? It was at that time I asked myself, God, why? God, what are you doing? God, what are you teaching me? So on the fourth day, when they didn't see him rise after it was devastating. In fact, that morning, I had a dream. I couldn't tell her because I didn't know how she would take it. And when I had that dream, I saw it was like there were caskets, many caskets, in a very serene place and quiet. And then I was asking the Lord in my dream, what does this mean? Does it mean that Kofi is not coming back? I didn't have an answer to my question in the dream. But as soon as I saw that, I knew that the Lord, that was it. And that was the point at which I had to surrender.
Just as you are, broken and scarred, come to Him, love and mercy for every broken heart. He is waiting with open arms. Come to Jesus, just as you are. And for the pain that's left you broken, He will give you peace today. And every tear that you've cried in sorrow, every tear you've cried in sorrow, He will wipe them all away. Come to Jesus, just as you are, broken and scarred. Oh, come to Him, love and mercy for every broken heart. He is waiting.
The leadership of the church, the pastoral team, organized a number of interventions especially for the young people, because I think I'll be right in saying that they took it the hardest. It was completely out of the blue. So it was very, very difficult coming to terms with it. So we had to talk to individuals, talk to small groups of people, talk to the whole fellowship, youth fellowship especially, and encourage them that whatever God allows to happen in His wisdom and sovereignty is good.
You may think you are young and you have a lot of time and all that, but really, the only one who knows when is God. And for me, that is fine, because that's all part of our growth. We grow through our struggles. We grow through pain. We grow through the things we experience that we don't expect. And all that helps us to grow, to see that, like one of the songs says, we blossom and flourish like leaves on a tree and wither and perish.
To get it all together, I've got some questions of my own. I need you, Lord.
A lot of us didn't feel like this was the end for Kofi, because this was a young man who had a lot of things to do.
There were times when I would just wish that I could force myself to believe, so that I would have some comfort that maybe he was really in heaven with God. But most of the time, I just didn't know what to believe. And even listening to his music became difficult, because his music is so centered around God and his love for Christ and all of that. And I was like, why would somebody who loves God so much be snatched from us at such a time? And somebody who believed from his heart and seemed to have understood and found his footing in his faith. It just didn't make sense to me.
I remember the night before the funeral, we had a service, a worship service, and I think it was at that point that the weight of what was going on dawned on me extra. I just wailed uncontrollably, inconsolably. Yeah.
It was tough. It was really tough. Seeing that my little brother was no more with us, so it was a huge blow.
Emmanuel is still his name today. God is with us. Jehovah Shammah, our ever present.
It was not until after his death that the song made such a huge impact on me. It was because the song was answering questions we had not yet asked. But after he passed and we started asking all those kinds of questions, the youth were asking questions, all we needed to do was to play the song. And it says that the silence of God does not imply that he's abandoned us. It was like, whoa, did you know?
Sometimes you wouldn't get the answers to everything, but believing that in all things, God is glorified.
I was shocked. I couldn't eat. The first few days, I lost so many kilos at once. My blood pressure was out of the roof. But in the midst of that, I could find confidence in God and His promises. You know, the promise of God is that I will never leave you nor forsake you.
The absence of our God, He is here. silence of my God does not negate the power of my God. The presence of the storm does not imply the absence of our God. He's here. The silence of our God does not negate the power of our God. He's here right now. He's mighty to save us, yeah. My God is here today. In the presence of 10,000 fall at my right and another at my left. He is here. Our God, my God. He's here to save, to deliver every stronghold in your life. My God won't leave me hanging. Emmanuel is still his name today. God is with us. Jehovah Shammah, our ever-present God. He's mighty to save me, show forth his power to deliver. Our God is here. Peace, be still is what he says to me. God is with us. His voice will chase all our fears and doubts away. In the presence of my enemies, he lays his table of provision. Our God